Hello everyone. I will start the concept the cognitive STEM. Um, the cognitive STEM is also called cognitive. Also, some authors they identify it's a psychology instructional. According to the cognitive approach, knowledge is learned and these learnings. The possible change in behaviors, like behaviorism, which affirms that what is learned are the new behavior observable. On cognitivism affirms that the students build their knowledge in stage through the structuring of mental schemes. Focus on how you learn be at the same time they are based on a constructivist postulate where the subject bias is knowledge. From the action, the learning is considers an interactive process and dynamic through which the external information is interpreted and reinterpreted by the mind that is by models sometimes more complex. So it is um, interpreted an activity process connectives emphasizes the importance of learning. To learn is an activity subject that the process the information has competence cognitive to learn and for the problem solving the students possess previous knowledge according to level of cognitive development. The importance of the meaningful learning the student learns even, even without the intention of making in the context plays an important role in the construction and modification of schematics mental. The cognitive sees the learning as an interpretation of the reality allows to modify the cognitive structure, which is seen reflect in a chain of behavior. Also, empathisms, learning significate as a K, so the student is active and the same time self-taught. In behaviors, the teacher sorry in the constructivism well yes the students must be autonomous with carrying out the work and expose themselves to errors to later rectify. This it is experiential aspect that makes learning effective. um, the teachers has to promote an IQ to find answer and play with interactive uh, cycle material. One example for um, for constructivism is if a child he's asked to draw a school yard. His drawing is not a representation of the yard, but of what he knows about it. Has you met new elements and interacted with him, the structure of the yard, your thinking will become more sophisticated. One example behaviorisms is since the bell process recess and the end of class, students will inevitably associate with sound with the learning period. Um, Thus, they stop paying attention even though the teacher is talking or explanation something important. Well, the differences, the the difference, these concepts, eh, the cognitivism and constructivism. The constructivism mind is tool of reference for the world. The cognitivism mind filters what comes the world to produce your own reality. And the constructivism knowledge is independent of the mind is represent uh, waiting from the students. The cognitive is the note then the existence of real world, but born from interpretation of the experience. Um, the behaviorisms, um, mind body, note the limbs. Then is the existences of the mind in any form which control behavior. Behaviors need to be addresses has observable behaviors not has an expression of the state, but observable. One example, the teaching English in uh, uh, um, and behaviorism um, will be through the imitation of observable contacts. I see a person speak English, signs, but it's obvious that I will have the same language. One example, the teaching a foreign language with cognitive sim will be through the senses listening to phonology and seeing the histories of face, also through the rotation of the new words that will fit with those already obs- obstinate. The example, teaching a foreign language with the constructivism will be based on games that encourage about English and that the students can be their own perspective and of learning how they want to learn it. That's all. Um, Thanks.
Behaviorist. The behaviorist perspective of learning originated in the early 19th and became dominant in early 20th century. The basic idea of behavior is that learning consists of change in behavior to the acquisitions, reinforcement, and application of associations between stemmed from the environment and observable response of the individual behaviorists are interested in measurable changes in behavior. Characteristics of behaviorists determined that people can be influenced through similarity is establishes that stimulus from response to the formal causal relations, implements the experimental method, determines that behaviors and composed of response that can be analyzed objectively. It uses experimental and direct observations are what that learn behaviors are cumulative and organized in order in priority. And conditioning is part of the process of symmetry and response. For example, an example of reformers might be aware of small traits, such as kindly or a kind of low value to students who are able to correctly answer questions posed in class. 2. On the other hand, an example of well-applied punishment could be the ratio of attention to a student who is bothering the most common, while use the teaching technique is to sound the child of the classroom so that no one is paying attention. In education, behaviorists in education has been a theory of learning that of focused on the simultaneous response in students during the learning process. In this sentence, teachers should pay attention to the response of their students in order to establish a method of study that consists with their student education. Behaviors in the classroom can be learning that focus on the simultaneous response in students during the learning process. In this sentence, teachers should pay attention to the response of their students in order to establish students' method that suit their students.
Behaviorism, also known as behavioral psychology, is a theory of learning based on the idea that behaviors are accurate from conditioning. Conditioning occurs through interaction with environment. Behaviorists believe that our response to environmental stimuli shape our actions. According to school of strong behavior can be studied in a systematic and observable manner, regardless of internal mental states. According to this perspective, only observable behavior should be considered. Cognition, emotions, and modes are far too subject. An example of behaviorism is when teachers reward their class or center students with a party or special treat at the end of the week for before throughout the week. The same concept is used with punishments. The teacher can take away certain privilege if the students measurable.
Taxonomy of Bloom definition. Bloom taxonomy is hierarchical ordering of cognitive skills that can among countless other use help teach and students learn. Categories. Bloom taxonomy has 6 categories. One category, knowledge, involves the recall of specific and universal to recall of methods and processes of the recall of a pattern, structure, or setting. Two categories. Comprehension refers to a type of understanding or apprehension such that the individual knows what is being communicated and can make use of the material of idea being communicated. Third category, application, refers to use of abstraction in particular and concrete situation. Four category, analysis, represent the breakdown of a communication into its constituent elements of parts such that the relative hierarchy of ideas clear and or the relation between ideas expressed. Five categories synthesis involves the putting together of elements and parts to form a whole. Sixth category evaluation engenders judgments about the evaluate of material and methods or given purposes. Versus cognitivism. Similarities. The two theories are similar because in the cognitive, the teacher must organize didactic experiences that warranted that the student learns to learn and to think.
Yeah.
While Bloom's taxonomy focuses on hierarchy cognitive process at different levels and serves to facilitate the evaluation of certain activities. Differences. Cognitive serves for the student to interpret, process, and store information in the student's memory. While Bloom's taxonomy serves to teach and learn these theory hierarchies, the academic objectives that the students. Taxonomy of Bloom example clothes. Objective to identify the clothes in the English objective to identify the clothes in the English creative and dynamic way so that the students learn better with the knowledge that each one has on this subject. Activity 1. The teacher will design a memory about clothing to learn new vocabulary and make it easier for them to remember with pictures. Taxonomy of Bloom. Example, clothes. Objective to identify the clothes in English a creative and dynamic way so that the students learn better with the knowledge that each one has on this subject. Activity 1. The teacher will design a memory about clothing to learn new vocabulary and make it easier for them to remember with a picture.
Yeah.
Activity 2. The teacher will give them in the themes an image of a movie character to write down the clothes we are wearing, and she will make a list in the notebook. Activity 3. The teacher will give the students an alphabet soup where they can locate the clothes that are being seen in class. Each word will be a different color and the end they will stick in their notebook. Activity 4. Make a graphic organizer when they will illustrate each of the grammars they found in the alphabet soup. Activity 5. The teacher will divide the group into parts and she will put some colored picture paper on the blackboard where the students will have to match the drawing of the corresponding name. Activity 6. The students will create a character description with the clothes and come to the front to read it, knowing their character. That's it. Thank you for your attention.
Constructivism defines learning as a process of building and rebuilding the cognitive structure by simulating and incorporating knowledge based on our own previous experience. It is the process by which new skills, knowledge, or skill are acquired using previous concepts that we already had as basis, but at same time restructuring this new learning with the previous one. The process involved the construction of learning will be as follows: assimilation. This is the internalization of information or even to a pre-existing cognitive structure with the aim of deciphering in using knowledge obtained from previous but related experience. Assimilation is the understanding of the new event be relating into its own cognitive structure. Accommodation is the incorporation of new knowledge into the cognitive structure, be creating a new knowledge stream or modify pre-existing stream.
A number of factors are involved in the constructivist learning environment, but it clearly has four distinctive characteristics. Provides contact with multiple representation of reality, which highlight the complexity of the real world. Emphasis the construction of knowledge within the production of it. Highlights authentic tasks instead of out of context instruction. Encourage reflection from experience, creating a link between context and knowledge building. Promoters the constructivism of collaborative learning through social interaction and not the competition that seeks recognition. Cognitive theories focus on the conceptualization of a student's learning process and address how information is received, organized, stored, and localized. For constructivism, learning takes its form in creating meaning from experience. Constructivism helps explain the process of acquiring and developing reading comprehension skills and strategies for understanding English text. To help interpret the avalanche of textual information at L2, the teacher can provide constructive strategies and techniques such as tips that facilitate the student to discover high-level knowledge and meaning and exchange ideas and learning experience. A series of strategies for dynamics of teaching are proposed